Joining us now is Reilly Sullivan, a reporter here at skynews.com.au, and he's always across the latest headlines from the royal family. Reilly, it is great to see you, but it is a sad day for us here at Power Hour because this is our last cross together. You are such a talent, and I'm so grateful to have had you on this program for more than a year now, bringing all the royal news, bringing us right up to speed with everything that's happening around the globe. And we are going to miss you so much, but we are so excited for you taking on this next chapter in China, and I'm excited to watch you shine over there.
Oh, thank you so much, Gab. And it's been a pleasure to be a very, very small part of an amazing show. And I'm so proud to be part of the Power Hour extended family.
Reilly, it's been such a gift to have you on this program, and we are going to miss you so, so much. But let's get into the royal news for today. Let's start with Meghan Markle. There are calls now for her to apologise after choosing not to wear a poppy on her label ahead of her Remembrance Day. Now, of course, bring us up to speed on what Meghan's excuse was for not wearing a poppy.
Yeah, so this was one that really raised some eyebrows, I think, across the Commonwealth. Of course, celebrations earlier this week for Remembrance Day. It's a huge part of the tradition of the royal family. They wear the poppy in the weeks leading up. I think it's an initiative that's been in place now really since the end of the First World War, where the royal family honours the sacrifices of servicemen and women, which I think is really important.
Of course.
You know, because when people maybe who aren't in the Commonwealth see headlines about, you know, people slamming Meghan for not wearing a poppy, they're probably thinking, oh, come on, this is such a beat up. But really, I mean, it's a symbol of respect.
Absolutely.
And it's a huge part of the tradition. She didn't wear the poppy, as we know, especially when she was out recently at Kris Jenner's birthday party. The optics of that, of her at this sort of celebrity bash with Harry, who was wearing a poppy, I will add. You know, meanwhile, the real kind of working royals are there marking Remembrance Day. We had Princess Anne here in Australia. We had Princess Catherine leading celebrations in the UK. And her excuse was basically that they don't have poppies in the US, that she couldn't buy one. And I thought that was a very weak excuse. I mean, firstly, she's worn a poppy in previous years when they've been in Montecito, so I don't think it's an issue of her finding a poppy. You can also order one. She's a multi-millionaire. She had, you know, ample time to order a poppy. Of course, a lot of the poppies are sold to raise money as well for veterans. That's also an aspect of it. But I think that, you know, reflecting on it, her attitude towards this, I think, really reflects her kind of position now. You know, if she doesn't want to take part in the commemorations and the traditions of the royal family and not wear the poppy, I can respect that. You know, she put something up on social media saying thank you to the veterans. She wants to do that, that's fine. But give us back the Duchess of Sussex title.
Absolutely.
You know, she wants to have the associations of the royal family and she wants to profit off that, you know, with her brand and all of her marketing things that have Duchess of Sussex, but she doesn't want to do the work. And this is the issue. It's a life of service. Royalty is not just a title that you can use to sell jam. It's a service, and if she doesn't want to do the service, give back the title.
Well said. You know, I just think it's absolutely appalling and outrageous every time I see that title out on her website as she's promoting jams, candles, whatever it is, and then not wearing the poppy and having a terrible excuse. I think it's very disrespectful. Now, the Duke of Edinburgh is officially set to visit Ghana just months after reports that Meghan and Harry were planning a tour of the African nation. So talk to us, is Edward's visit, is this a sign that the palace is potentially trying to hit back at the Sussexes?
Yeah, I think this is very timely, a visit by Prince Edward. He's visited Ghana before. The previous time was in 2018. I think that the timing of it suggests that I think the royal family is being proactive. We know that King Charles was very unhappy last year when Harry and Meghan went to Nigeria and Colombia. They were not there on behalf of the royal family. They weren't there on behalf of the British Home Office. They were there, you know, as private citizens. But of course, you know, they never let that get in the way of wanting to look like royals and having this fake royal tour. And we know that the king was upset about that because there is an anxiety about whether they are trying to undermine the monarchy in the Commonwealth, especially in Africa. You know, we know that the Nigeria visit was an optics success for the Sussexes, and therefore I think that was why Ghana supposedly the officials from Ghana did extend an invite to Harry and Meghan in February this year, and there were rumours that they were in the planning stages. So I think the fact that Prince Edward is now going to Ghana is a sign that, forget about the Sussexes, this is the real royal family, this is the real thing. So I think it's a sign that they are being more proactive, whether it's a lot of actions that have happened recently, whether it was, removing Prince Andrew's title. The royal family, I think, is taking on a bit more of an active role of shoring up their position and really getting back to the work.
Now, disturbing new details have emerged about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, of course, formerly known as Prince Andrew, and of course, Sarah Ferguson's bizarre final days in the Royal Lodge. Can you talk to us about how the Duke and Duchess of York, or former Duke and Duchess of York, I should say.
Takes a minute to get used to that.
It does, doesn't it? How are they coping with this new reality?
Yeah, the reports about Fergie and Andrew's sort of days in Royal Lodge, we know that they're on the way out. They will be expected to leave the property in the coming months. At the moment, it's a financial arrangement. We know that the royal family is negotiating with Andrew about some kind of financial settlement because, of course, he did have that binding lease agreement that was able to kind of keep him there for so long. Now that that's off the table, he will be expected to leave. In the meantime, we know that Andrew and Fergie are still in the house, and some of the details, it's a little bit Greek tragedy. It's almost a little bit like a Tennessee Williams character, especially when it comes to Fergie. We're hearing reports that she's taking it hard. I think that her identity was tied up in being Duchess of York. She had that title since her wedding day, and the loss of it allegedly was just devastated her. She supposedly has been relying heavily on the staff at Royal Lodge. There's also supposedly this kind of private bar area set up on the property called the Doghouse, of all things. And apparently that's where she's hanging out. She's really hitting the bar, and she's expecting the staff to kind of commiserate with her. And I'm sure there is a level of sympathy. I think this has been a tough time for her. But I think at the end of the day, the reason that she's in this predicament and the reason that Andrew's in this predicament is because of their actions and their associations with Epstein. And like the royal family really kind of emphasised in that most recent statement, it's all about really the victims of Epstein. It's not about Andrew and Fergie. I think we can all kind of have a level of sympathy that maybe that they're going through a lot of change, but that's nothing compared to what the victims of Epstein have went through. And really, they're getting their comeuppance.
Yeah. Now, Princess Beatrice has continued her charity work as a royal patron despite her parents' scandals. Is this a sign that Beatrice is still in the inner circle?
Yeah, I think that Beatrice is probably taking a page from her grandmother, the Queen's book, which is to never explain, never complain. She has not spoken out about all of the turmoil that's been going on within her family with her parents. And instead, I think she's doing the right thing. She's holding her head up high and she's continuing to do charity work. She is a royal patron for about a dozen organisations. In recent days, we saw her step up for Outward Bound, which is a charity that was associated previously with her father, of all people. It's now a patronage held by Prince Edward, and Beatrice is going to be the new co-patron. So I think that that's a sign that the royal family is still happy to put her to work. But I think she's handling this well. I think that Beatrice and her sister Eugenie are in an invidious position where, if they complain, I think that there would be no sympathy. But I think if they kind of get on with it, there's also a risk of criticism. So I think she's really putting the charity work front and centre, and I think that this will be the test of their future, perhaps when William becomes king.
Absolutely. Now, finally, the trial over the tragic death of a grandmother who was hit by the Duchess of Edinburgh's royal motorcade is currently underway in London. What's the latest update from the case?
Yeah, so this case is going on this week at the Old Bailey in London. Basically, it's a wrongful death case because sadly in 2023, the royal motorcade was transporting the Duchess of Edinburgh. And I'm not sure if people have seen a royal motorcade before, but it's kind of a bit of a convoy, and it has motorcycles who kind of flank the motorcade. And it was one of the motorcyclists who hit a woman named Helen Holland, and sadly she passed away. She was a woman in her 80s. And she passed away in hospital because she was hit when she was crossing the pedestrian crossing. Naturally with a royal motorcade, the idea being that they can move through traffic without incident and without, disrupting traffic. And I think that this case is really going to hinge on whether the motorcyclist involved was taking, the appropriate steps to ensure that it was safe before they're passing through. And it's a tragic case. I think it's such a unfortunate circumstance, of course, for her family and also for the Duchess of Edinburgh. She sent out a statement at the time expressing her condolences, and it's wrapping up this week, so it'll be interesting to see the outcome of this.
Okay, thank you for bringing us up to speed on all the royal news, and thank you so much for your generous and huge contribution to this show. The show would not be the same without you. I don't know what we're going to do without you. I'm still coming to terms with it, but you are such a huge talent, a brilliant journalist, and I'm really excited for you.
Thanks so much, Gab.